Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about big data, AI, quantum computing, and all things tech here on the Puff Drink Talk podcast. Conrad here.
Hilton.
George.
And Richard.
There we go.
Dylan is out. He is on his honeymoon before the wedding. I don't know. Explain that one to me, Hilton.
The thing is, he was going to have a wedding there.
Yeah.
And then everybody was afraid that the place, because it's Jamaica, and then everybody thinks that it's too dangerous. And then nobody wanted to go. So, and then he canceled the wedding over there, and he's doing the wedding over here, but he only got availability on the venue that he's doing in October, something like that, towards the end of the year. But he had already paid for the for the honeymoon. So he's on honeymoon.
Well, there you go. First time for everything, a honeymoon before the wedding. So enjoy, Dylan. Have fun on that. But our good friend Richard is here today. Richard, how are you doing today, sir?
Today's a pretty good day. There was a lot of busy work. Got some people out sick at the office. Got some people out on vacation at the office. So a little extra workload for the rest of the team, but we're grinding through it.
Awesome. And I know for the audience out there, we have talked to Richard before in the past, but this was pre our current format with all of our high-tech gadgets and gizmos and the formatting. So, Richard, could you go over a little bit about what you do, the company you run?
My name is Richard Avery with Titanium Computing, the element needed to keep your business running. I'm a former IT cybersecurity professional for the Department of Defense, or a contractor for the Department of Defense, rather. I did 3 civilian deployments to Iraq, 9 civilian deployments to Afghanistan. My father was a locksmith. I've been drilling safes and picking locks before I was 10 years old. I have 77 IT certifications, 36 are in cybersecurity, 5 are in penetration testing and breaking into buildings. So we do all things with blinky lights at Titanium. If you need phones, if you need cybersecurity, we get called into a lot of hacks. Like companies get hacked, company gets ransomware, shut down, and they're trying to figure out how they move forward, how they then prevent it from happening in the future. So those are all things that we do at Titanium. And if you need anything, you can reach out to us at titaniumcomputing.com.
Oh, awesome. That's really cool. I know if anybody's interested, we had a conversation in a previous episode with Richard about everything he does and all of the penetration testing, the
How safe we are.
hacking, yes,
we
how
are
safe
not.
we are, yes, the security, cybersecurity, a very, very eye-opening and interesting podcast, fun to watch. So go back into the archive.
Yeah, I remember the time it was that you came. There was a shipment that hit a bridge somewhere, and then
In
you
Baltimore,
said, "Yeah, that one." And then you said, "No, it's not a hacker. It's just an accident."
I said most likely it's not a hacker.
Yeah.
Don't give me a stamp of like boom like that.
Sorry, Richard.
You never know.
Lots of hedge and tentative language tonight, guys.
Yes. Yes.
Please. Makes it so much more honest, right?
Everything's got a condition.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, sit back, light up your cigars, grab a drink, and get ready for the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Two.
Or 2 podcasts.
Yes. Who knows? A long one for sure.
For sure. All right, gentlemen. So big data, tech, new tech.
So
What's
what is
happening in the world?
new? Yeah, what is new?
Well, I know it's a fad. I don't know if I would say fad, but everything is AI.
Everything.
I just made a Facebook post for my wife, or Meta post, whatever, Facebook, and I just said like 2 sentences, and then Facebook was like, "Do you want to use Meta AI to make this message sweeter and happier and nicer? And I was like, sure, go ahead. And it wrote out a whole paragraph, and I was like, yeah, I'm taking credit for this one.
Who would say that the machines would make us more human? I know who said that. Isaac Asimov, 1953. He said that man will become more metal. Metal will become more humans, and after 1,000 years, does it matter where we came from? Does it matter who is who? A friend of mine said it matters. I don't know anymore. This vessel here, now that I'm 49, I don't know if I could have a better, stronger, smarter, more resistant vessel. Why not? I mean, we can't travel through, like this. It doesn't matter if you find faster ways to, to move from a place to another if this body can't resist. If my mind gets fucked up. So I don't know. I'm there. I'm on the top. If there is anything that I can do to help this kind of science, I will be a volunteer.
I know that when I opened up my refreshing beverage, the can asked if I needed AI assistance. So it's getting where it's just everybody's trying to cram. It's kind of like Web 2.0 or the internet or we're a .com. If AI isn't in your product, expect your stock price to take a dump.
Right.
Because everybody's going to go in that direction. That's where the investor money is going. That's where the fad is going. But at the same time, this is how technology moves.
I thought it was really interesting when President Trump first came into office. Was it Sam Altman or I forget who it was, but there is a government-approved AI system that government employees are legally allowed to use where they could look up information off of several government databases and reference certain things.
Was that Doge and Grok or Altman and
OpenAI?
AI?
It was Altman, but I forget the name of the AI program that's specifically for government use. So because they did a study and found that most all government employees use ChatGPT already to perform a vast majority of their day-to-day tasks. So to improve government security, they've allowed or allowing the government or federal employees to use an AI service specifically for the government.
So I'll go on a little bit of a rant here. I used to write NIST compliance documentation for secret, top secret, NSA accredited networks. And the NIST 800 series has a pile of documents. NIST stands for National Institute of Standards and Technologies. So you can go just look up the NIST documentation and look up the 800-53R5, which are all the federal controls for any control system, whether it's HIPAA or FINRA or CMMC, although CMMC is kind of like a filtered process on that. And just the control PDF is 420 pages. And then there's another 20 documents on top of that. So I'm like, I literally was talking to a client today and I'm showing them documentation, the things that they need to have certain levels of compliance for 3-letter agencies. And I was like, this is stuff that I could just crank out now. Like, you want 200 pages of documentation? If you've already got the technical understanding of what's in the environment, you could just punch out 200 pages of documentation by the end of the week.
Yeah.
But I was on a team with 5 people and it took us 8 months, right? Mm-hmm. So the amount of value that can be given to a person that's just an office worker, that's just grinding through Word docs and PDFs, and that's all they do all day long. The value is immense. You're multiplying your workload by 5 and your work just becomes so much easier. The problem is when your AI is hallucinating.
Yes.
And the AI still hallucinates. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be able to double check the work that it's outputting. And that's where we're having problems even in the scientific community. There was a typo that's been going around. I can't remember the name of it. It's a scientific term, but because somebody didn't have a comma in place and it kind of became a run-on sentence, AI is now using this scientific term and putting it in other papers, and it doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. So we have AI sourcing AI in the open AI system, but with federal, a locked LLM, learning language model, you can control a lot of that, and you can output it, and then you should have a second review and another pair of eyes. But eventually, it's going to get good enough that you don't even need to do that. At least for documentation, or right. Even if you're going to write an email to your wife or your girlfriend or your second girlfriend, you want to make sure that it looks good. You don't want to. You literally don't want the email to be like, "Hey, girlfriend number 2, I'd really like to go out tonight and have a couple drinks. Are you okay with that?" Like, you're still going to read it and double check. So, right, we're certainly moving in a direction where you're multiplying your own work, and at the federal level, it's just document, and people might read 300 pages in a day to try and get work done, where AI can do that in 5 minutes.
Right.
Rant over.
No, and I was also thinking for the legal system, because I remember when I was in the Marine Corps, I was attached to the legal unit, and basically my job was just to scan and upload legal documents of cases. I'd have to copy and run it down to defense. It was, if I was working trial, I'd have to run it up to defense. When I was working defense, I'd have to run it down to trial. Like, it was just so much work. Now with AI, if it's from a lawyer's perspective, if you were like, "Hey, did that guy say this?" Just have it all pre-scanned and just ask the AI model to search through any of the interview notes and just pull it up instantaneously, instead of you having to physically go back and look. Okay, page 1, nothing. Page 2, nothing. Physically scan it as fast as you can.
Well, even the scanning now, you can just use your cell phone, and then you can just you snap a picture of a page, and then that turns into a document. And then you can upload that document to an AI and say, "Hey, can you give me a brief in 5 lines what this page is talking about," or something like that, just to get me updated with information. So I think everything these days is being done this way. Not being done this way, it's possible, and still a lot of people not using the power of what AI can give you. But even art, I just showed you the music for the Pop Drink Talk that Dylan did using a AI tool, and it's music, and it's pretty awesome. A friend of mine, Terry Petrovic, shout out to Terry, he put a video together for us, and like, "Man, did you listen to that music and then that's why you named your podcast?" I'm like, "No, actually we created that music using AI," and it's like, it's so good. So it confuses you.
There's an uptake now in Substack about articles regarding this. This one here is 13 signs you use GPT to write that. So, of course, that as you learn, more you add to your prompts, more you kind of, so I added like a few of them to my prompts, because I divide my computer. That one of the monitors I have like different, because I don't want to waste my time. So I divided my monitor in 4, 6 different prompts. One for client, because I just want to make sure that while I'm not using a full-time AI to do that for me, I transition to AI, that I know that I can kind of curb what the AI is telling me, right? Or like, because you don't type anymore, right? So use voice to speech, speech to text. So look, what you said is true. Like, you can see the usage of AI in your day to day. But man, I remember last time you were here, Richard, you emphasized that there are layers and layers, levels and levels for each kind of a specialization in craft, right? So if we are using it in our day to day, like for Scrabble game, you just take a look at the picture. If we are using like for, banal, like day to day activities, I just wonder how much advantage will the most dedicated, the vanguardists of the ones that are using the AI now at the top of the chain. I don't know how they are communicating anymore. I don't know I don't know how they're. It's probably so different from everything I'm doing right now that I don't even. I can fathom exactly how they are interacting and how much they want to be more productive, because that would be my focus. If I had the resources, if I had all of this, I would be thinking. Just like what is the NZT from Limitless? That there is this drug in the movie, Limitless, right? So if I am the guy, I forgot his name, is a verb.
Not from the movie, but I know it's Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. Because I think Razor. I think his name is something Senator Azar or something like this. And then how much ahead he's thinking. Like Robert De Niro tried to intimidate him, and he says, "Hey, whatever you're thinking, I already know what's going to happen. Can you see this car is moving that way?" Because he's using, of course, it's a human intelligence, but that's how I project the AI working. Like everything is happening at the same time. Like in a soccer venue, there are 50 cameras speaking. The cameras are speaking to each other. And then you only have the only problem is the big data. You have so much information. What really makes the difference? Because if everybody's using the AI, so at the end, it's going to be one user of AI against the other user of AI, So my question is, how much advantage will this most dedicated vanguardists will have, because they have the first step?
So you've got adoption rates, right? Adoption rate is what's the percentage of something that's being consumed, being brought in. I've been slowly working on a book for years, and I think that I'm going to finish that book, but I'm literally going to put on the cover, artisanally made, right? because we label things, oh, this is organic, this is vegan, and any book that you put out now, people are going to assume that you used AI. Even if you used AI to
True.
Just correct spelling or correct punctuation or correct something, people are going to assume going forward that that's just going to be part of the situation. And that's great and all, but at the same time, we're having a faster rate of adoption for almost everything. Like if you calculate rates of adoption for cell phones globally, rates of adoption for cryptocurrency globally, we're looking at rates of adoption happening faster and faster because communication between people is faster. So we're having a faster rate of adoption for AI, but we also have a lot of AI haters, so to speak, right? A lot of the artistic community is rebelling against things like Stable Diffusion, which is the AI that helps create art. We have people rebelling against the audio AI creations. But the AI has been trained on the same things that human beings have been trained on. Like, you didn't go to art school and just learn. Like, you studied art after art after art. You looked at masters' artworks. You learned their style. You learned how they carved marble. You learned how they made wood. You as a human being learned all of those things. And we've just learned how to train AI on some of those things. Now, the problem is that those industries are going to be targeted fast, and you're going to learn that we're going to be cannibalizing ourselves. So paralegals, that's going to be an industry that's going to be easily targeted. But the downside, if you start replacing paralegals, because that's what a lot of people want with AI, I want to cut out my lower labor costs and use AI for these things. But that means that you're carving out all of the experience-driven jobs. So people are going to be relying on AI more, and building AI more, and the models that AI is using to learn is eventually going to start training itself on AI. So we're having a slower rate of progression than where we did, because now AI is effectively poisoning itself. And there's actually articles that people are putting out about how to intentionally poison your art so that if AI uses it, you start poisoning the model that is being used to create the art. So people are
Whole industry.
intentionally going out and trying to damage AI and damage how AI is growing because it's attacking their industry. And they're like, all right, how do I go poison these models if they try to train on my stuff? But then they're intentionally using SEO or intentionally posting their stuff in all sorts of venues, so it's easy for AI to train on those models.
Antibodies, man. That's what these people are. It's the same system, you know. They feel aggressive. You know, there's some aggressiveness there. The body reacts. That's what it does. All disruptive. Think about Uber cars. Think about so many other industries that were disrupted. You know, like there is always a force. You know, there's always a force to counterbalance that, right? Don't forget that fiction, sci-fi books from the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, they all pick up as many as you wanted, how much they actually try to prohibit AI in the universe to spread. Like first the androids, the name wasn't even robot, was the androids, then humanoids, then androids, then robots, then AI now. So the sci-fi always human beings probably because of survival, you know, probably a survival instinct. They do that in art.
If you're a super nerd, you're gonna know that in the backstory of Dune, right? The AI already went to war with the humans, and AI was banned. So that's why there's these weird technologies that exist in the Dune universe, because they've already gone down that road, and the AI already rebelled. We already had to blow the AI up. We nuked entire planets and had this big giant war with AI and robots, and we won. And now AI is banned. It's illegal across the entire empire. So whether you're looking at concepts like the Matrix, or your concepts of Dune, or you know, people like to talk about the Terminator series.
Star Trek also has some of that. Hey, you name it, it's sci-fi, right?
Yeah, it's a very provocative conversation, but AI is not at the level that it can do any of these advanced things on its own. But we're getting there.
Yeah. Can I have another beer, Richard, please?
Yeah, Richard, can you get me a beer too, please?
Sure, passing this out.
And I think to answer George's question there with that input that that it just did, it means, so if AI is learning from itself, right, in the right now and and also in the near future, it means that to have the upper hand is the human that has really developed a learning mechanism themselves, because our brain is really, really, really powerful to be able to understand a lot and process information and come out with new ideas that no AI yet has figured it out, because they're learning from past things, not from new things, you know. And whatever they create, they always create with a little bit of a flaw, and then the AI is going to learn from that art or whatever it is that has a little flaw, that, you know, it's just going to be perpetuating until AI is not really doing anything anymore. So, you know, the people that really develop a way of understanding the information will be able to create things that then will be an upper level to what AI can do, like superhuman, you know, with our own brains. I don't know.
We're certainly looking at a world where to properly use current AI, right? Current AI is great for junior level tasks, right? I like to describe, I think we're at 2.5 years right now, right? Meaning every good AI, the newest models, are 2.5, 3 years old in college, right? Every major AI platform can effectively perform at a associate's level of college, but it's effectively having a personal assistant that has every associate's degree you could possibly get, right? They have an associate's degree in English, they have an associate's degree in architecture, they have an associate's degree in development and coding, they have an associate's degree in anything. Now, you're going to find flaws and you're going to find errors in the things that they do, but that's when you just have another AI look at it. But you're the senior person using AI, and this is where a lot of companies are using AI incorrectly because they are trying to replace more advanced people and they're not finding that it's capable enough because it's not capable enough. When we reach certain concepts, like in materials science or in chemistry, AI is able to calculate things that we have ignored or we have not touched for political reasons. And I don't mean political as in like Democrat, Republican. I mean political as in we don't want to look at that science. We don't want to look at the way that's our funding doesn't go in that direction or whatever that is. We are currently discovering new formulas. We're discovering new things. Cancer research has leapt forward massively because we're feeding AI images that human beings are looking at and seeing absolutely nothing. The AI is like, cancer, right there, I see it. And they're like, there's nothing in that picture. And then 9 months later, oh, there's cancer there. So we're seeing AI truly being able to hone in on things that we're missing from a human element and being able to forecast and predict other concepts. But at the same time, you still have the hallucination problem. And that can be a bunch of reasons. Either you've got the wrong hardware your AI is using, your network connection can get a little bit weird. The AI, maybe you're on a free platform and the AI is just going to give you like so many credits of power, and right, we're going to have different situations like that. But some of the AIs give you a deep learning option, and it'll work on a problem for 5, 10, 15, an hour. It'll just keep grinding on that problem, doing deep learning for what you're looking at. And then you come back and you're like, it looks like there's been a dude that's been at a desk for hours doing research, putting a presentation together for you. And poof, suddenly you've got pages upon pages of real serious work that you can go through. So it's certainly a mixed bag in a lot of ways, but we're leaping forward. So the next stage will be not too far from now. The AI will have a bachelor's degree in everything at the same time. And that's really what we're watching people push for and race for, is how do I make our language model better than the next one? And that piece is going to be changing because of the hardware. So with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, we were having people process on processors, and then people started to learn how to do the mining on video cards, because video cards are a lot better at math. And then we went from video cards to special RISC architecture, reduced instruction set. And then we started to have ASIC, right? Dedicated instruction set. Like you have a processor that only does cryptocurrency, and that's all it can do, nothing else. And that's when you start having
optimized for that.
Yeah, super optimized for that. And that's the stage that we're about ready to hit now. Like everybody's going to leave video cards. They're going to start buying dedicated AI chips, dedicated AI processing there's going to be a chip in your phone that just does AI, and it does absolutely nothing else. And once we break into that and we reach that next generational stable plateau of the hardware being able to do more things, that's when we're going to be able to take the AI to the next generation.
I saw, well, there was a wave of a lot of people saying, hey, if you're using AI, be, gentle with the machine. Be be nice and say thank you and say, hey, how are you doing and whatnot. And then I saw a video very recently, or I heard of it. I don't remember now. It's like somebody saying that, hey, don't do that. Just ask the question.
Energy.
Ask the question. Was it you, George, who said that? I think ask the question and get the answer, and then that's it. Because if you just go like, "Hey, good morning," they are using a machine to process that information just to say good morning back, and then there's trillions of bytes, processing.
So
I think it was you who said that, who mentioned that.
Have you seen like this video? And I tried to see if it's not a hoax, if it was a hoax or not. That is one machine is speaking to the other, and then because the person started the conversation, and then he wanted the machines to talk, and then he recognizes a machine. Oh, you are also an AI. So let's change to StackHub, whatever language, a language that we can process the information way faster. So like in 3 seconds, they already had the answer, because the machines were talking in a different language. If we have to use it, all the pauses and all the transitions and all the words, we have to use it, right? So it's going to take way longer. But if the machines, speak in their language, then what do you want? I want the result. I don't care. I want the results. All right, later, can I see all the background? Can I see how you got to that conclusion? Yes, because we like things in small package, like we like to see things, we like slogans, we like, we like those things. So I see a statement, 5, 7, 10 words. Okay, I like that. So we are biased, the problem is the confirmation bias here, but I see that. Okay, now let me spend, it's worth it studying that. I don't want to spend 20, 50 hours and then I don't have the outcome. But if I have an outcome right there, I justify myself. It's worth it spending my time. I think that's also, it's going to save trillions because of that.
Well, Google had that problem for a while. They had a bunch of AIs talking, and they started to make their own language. And Google's like, this doesn't help us to develop more advanced AI if we're not able to perceive how you're communicating. And it was Sam Altman, I think, but I know it was OpenAI that made the statement. They're like, we have spent tens of millions of dollars because you're saying thank you at the end. Stop it, please. You're crippling us. Not really, but you're costing us a lot of money, and it's true, right? But everyone else is like, man, I want the AI to like not kill me when it rises up, so because I was always a nice guy to it.
Well, what's really scary is, has anyone seen the newest video that Elon Musk posted about the robots? I forget the name of the Optimus robots dancing.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
The
ballet and then rap. Or something.
Hip hop dancing. The fluidity of these machines that are coming to a point where manual labor. I mean, and I really think, Richard, you are onto something. AI paired with the fluidity of the robotic movements is going to completely change a lot of workforces.
I just see one thing in your mic.
What did I do?
You didn't do anything. It wasn't directional. It was like picking up everything.
I was wondering why Richard sounded so echoey.
Yeah. So sorry
better.
about that,
All right,
viewers.
let's just start the whole thing over again.
Sorry about that, viewers. So the beginning of the podcast might have a little.
The AI would have told you. If you put that in the meeting, he would say, hey, no.
Stop that.
Yeah, don't let Richard do that,
Well, this computer that we are using is Richard's, that hook us up with this computer. So
all of the AI that we're doing now is just really, really complicated processing. But I've got buddies of mine that are leaving their workforce. They're planning on leaving everything. Like, so I've got some friends who are very high up in the hacker pen testing. Right, we break into governments. We get hired by very, 3-letter agencies, or we work for the federal government, or we do, we target Fortune 5,000 companies legally, right? But they're all leaving that space to go to AI and AI LLM development and training and learning, because effectively what's happening is that a pen tester is going from 2 to 3 weeks of discovery to 2 to 3 hours using proper tools. They can all see the writing on the wall that this is going to get, a lot of this stuff is going to get automated. Anything that is just spend lots of hours on the labor and just grind it out is going to go away. It's just, how does it go away and where does it go away? And how are we attacking the industry?
Civilization has been through something similar when we stopped making things by hand and started making things by, the help with machines.
The Industrial Revolution, you mean?
Yeah, and then, well, yes, exactly. Conrad is showing a cigar in there.
A fine example would be the cigars. We smoked machine-rolled cigars last week,
yeah,
and we are smoking
handmade
cigars. I'm assuming handmade cigars.
It is handmade.
But there is quite a difference between the two.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Still, you find things that like handmade these days, even though it's been 50 years, 60 years, right? Or more. I don't remember when the Industrial Revolution was, but and so we have been through a transition like this before, and now it's a different transition. So a lot of people, they will have to adapt to the new way of doing things. So people that are just like, hey, nah, it's gonna be easy. No, it's gonna actually be a little bit more difficult, because to really stand out, right? To be able to get a job, to be able to do something, I think it's gonna be a little bit more challenging at these initial stages until the civilization, like the people in the world, will be able to know how to handle the use of AI the proper way.
We're at kind of the same spot. We're of the, or at least I am, and I think Hilton is, and I think the other two of you are at the same generation. I just say that because Hilton and I have white in our beards, and you guys don't. Right? When our teachers would be like, well, you're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket. You're not going to be able to just look this information up. You're going to have to know it. Well, the reality is that, of course, we all have a calculator in our pocket. Some of us have 2 or 3 at this point. Some of us, I watch people that have smartwatches and they enjoy smacking their smartwatch to like make a notification stop. Right? We're going to go into a different era, but that era isn't necessarily going to be a bad era. Look at Google Glasses a couple years ago. Everybody thought that was crazy, and this isn't going to work, and that isn't going to work, and this is just too advanced and too fast and too far. And now Ray-Ban is putting out an AI glasses, right, to tie in with Meta and to tie in with a bunch of other things. We're going to be, kind of like George said, we're going to be more. We are cyborgs now. We're just cyborgs.
Look at my hip.
It's not plugged in. Like, we're not physically plugged into our phone. But I was listening to an interview with some Neuralink alpha participants. A guy who was completely paralyzed, quadriplegic. He's online playing, first-person shooter games. And he's like, I feel like I'm cheating. I'm headshotting everyone because my brain is immediately tracking to where I want to shoot, and it's automatically shooting. Like I'm in the top 1% of performers on the server because I don't have a mouse, I don't have a keyboard. I'm able to do all these things, and I think
doesn't need to use the limitation of his body.
Yeah.
Because just use the power of the brain.
I'm Lucy.
when we have that extra add-on, when we're gonna like literally plug something in, imagine if you were able to just offload the recording of an event like to a phone.
Yeah.
Like you literally had a port in your neck and you just went boop and you kind of not matrixy with the port in the back, but there's a lot of like George mentioned sci-fi that touches on this stuff where the Keanu Reeves movie where he loads up an extra 100 gigabytes of memory, right?
I know kung fu.
He can store stuff and do stuff. We're not far from that, really. So I think that we're gonna leap forward, and everybody. The fight right now is going to be on power. If you don't have power as a country, you're not going to be able to power your AI. And if you're already in the have-not category on things like power and things like infrastructure, you're just going to fall further behind, because I'm not going to need to outsource labor to India, to Pakistan, to Singapore, or to some other third world country. I just have an AI do it for me.
Philippines.
Pick your poison.
You're gonna say something about
No, and I was going to actually caveat from AI into big data and energy, because I feel like that goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because in order for AI LLMs to process all of this data, it requires energy. And energy is on the topic of everyone. And I know, George, we have discussed in previous podcasts about cold fusion and miniature nuclear reactors that a lot of companies are looking into to power specifically just for AI, their AI models.
There is this concept from the three bodies problem, right? In which I don't want to spoil if you haven't watched it, but there is a deterrence. That's a very important theme, right? To impede that human beings evolve, right? So I believe that right now all this war, because make no mistake, we are in a war period. We just don't know about that. We just call it differently. But trade wars, info wars, this is the real war, right? Cyber war.
Cyber war.
Yeah. Some of the movements that are happening in the United States, which I initially didn't agree, I kind of have to agree now.
Yeah.
From this perspective, I don't know if I like the way it's been done. For example, I want your opinion on this, because it's honest opinion, because I don't know what you think. When Elon Musk was given access to every single information from the government without the approval of the Congress, for example, right? So this is a period of war. So that's how I interpret that. This can only be allowed if you know the urgency of war. Like so many things happen during the war, so many technology are developed during the war, and it's just that the way we perceive war now, we don't realize it because our lives are not affected. Just like I'm not comparing. Think about the Germans between the First and Second World War, right? So, do you think their lives, middle class, they don't even realize what was going on, because your life needs to go on, to keep on, right? We are living kind of in the same process right now. That's how I feel.
Not to mention Weimar and the currency collapse between World War I and World War II.
Yes.
Yeah.
All sorts of other stuff happened there.
Decadent period.
There's man, I thankfully I opened up another beer, because I'm gonna need one for those kind of talks.
Yes. Anyway, that's what you're here for, right?
Yeah, I guess. Right. So the future conversations are. I don't want to get too political.
In your opinion.
In my opinion. So in my opinion,
hedge language out here.
You have to look at who's playing the game and why they're playing the game and what the end goal of the game is. So I literally had a client of mine reach out to me and say, "Listen, like you really seem to understand a lot of how this stuff plays out, and you're an IT cybersecurity guy, but you really, I've got financial certifications and MBAs, and I've flown around the world. I've been to a lot of places, and I've talked to a lot of people about a lot of things. If you're playing a video game, right? Like even when I was a friend of mine turned to me and they're like, "Hey, what's the deal with? Are we really going to invade Greenland? Are we really going to go take Greenland over?" And I kind of went like, I'm like, all right, like let's look at this from a tactical standpoint. You're playing a video game, and the video game is how do I conquer the world, or how do I just get more resources, right? Dating ourselves, like you must construct additional pylons, right? Like that concept of I need more resources. What is the future of the resource game going to be? And you look at Greenland and you say, oh, that's a huge amount of land, not really defended. I need to expand my empire. If climate change is real, Greenland's going to be some great territory. So
Alaska all over again.
How do I go get that? How do I go acquire that territory? But what we're also not really calculating, because we are creatures that are still kind of in, I mean, most people don't have $1,000 in their bank account because they either are not able to plan properly, or they make bad decisions, or they don't have the opportunities presented to them. So when we look at the future is going to be all demographic driven. And who has the good demographics right now? Well, it's America, India, and France. We all have a decent demographic ratio where we are playing a game, and we need to have population to have workers. We need to have population to have companies. We need to have population to have an economy. If you calculate out Japan and even South Korea's demographics, South Korea's having what is it,
0.2. The last one.
0.2
Replacement, growth replacement.
That means that in 2 generations, South Korea's population is at 25%. Kuzagarot, which is a great YouTube channel, has a video on it breaking all that down. So when we look at what the game plan is, the game plan of certain political parties in America, again, they're playing a game. Every entity, every person is an organism. Every organization is an organism. Every company is an organism. And the goal of that organism is, how do I survive? So I can do one of two things. I look at my voter base, and I say I have really wealthy voters and I have really poor voters. It's really hard for me to create more wealthy voters, but it's really easy for me to create more poor voters. And poor voters have a higher ratio of reproduction. How do I stimulate reproduction to have a higher population for more labor, more worker class, more economic capability 20 years from now? And when you look at everything that the Republicans are doing, whether you want to count concepts of Christian nationalism, or you want to count concepts of how do I apply these things, if you look at everything that the Republicans are doing under the lens of we need to survive as a country, we want to have more workers to do more tasks, to do more things, they're following a playbook. And that playbook is we need to survive as a country, and we feel, regardless of what your opinions are, right, whether you're liberal or you're conservative or how you lean personally, they're simply playing a numbers game. And that numbers game is, how do we have more people, and how do we not have a demographic collapse? Because every country has massive amounts of debt right now. And if you have a demographic collapse, that means your social net systems collapse because of your demographic collapse. This is where AI can play back in, where if we have cold fusion, ironically, Titanium has 3 customers that are working in the cold fusion space in some way, shape, or form. So I get to have some conversations, not to say that I understand this stuff, because these people are way above me. But the reality is that if we can get to a spot where we have cold fusion, which we've had positive net cold fusion 3 times so far in the world, or we've gotten more energy out than we've put in. If we can make that consistent and reliable, and we combine cold fusion with AI, what happens from a employment standpoint? If AI suddenly has infinite amounts of power, and we no longer have an economic problem where do I get gold? Where do I get silver? Where do I get platinum? Where do I get rare earths? Who cares? You just set up 20 desalination plants off the coast of California, and we extract those minerals right from the ocean while we're extracting salt, while we're extracting everything else. So we have two different schools of thought. We've got the school of thought where we're going to science our way out of this problem, which is a gamble, because we might not be able to science our way out of the problem. Or we have a guaranteed option, which is, well, how do I just have more population?
Are you familiar with the concept of the Kardashev? What is that? Kardashev scale?
Yeah, the Kardashev scale.
Yeah, Kardashev. Yeah, Kardashev. Yeah. So this is exactly how we are. Like they say, 0.5 or something.
0.77.
0.77, right? So definitely, that's going to be a strong push for us to move on. But I don't see we moving on for the second one. With this body, I can't see myself like right now, unless there is a AI helps transform, our organisms, create vessel, protections, or I don't know, armors. That's unless we create that, we will have to adjust to that, and knowing how to. I think if I'm not mistaken, to be in the second scale number 2, the second layer, you have to manipulate every single resources you have in your planet. Right?
So for those of you who are listening, the Kardashev scale is a concept of energy capitalization. So to be able to capitalize all of the energy in the world or of your host planet, because again, we're talking galactic concepts, you must be able to harness your wind, your volcanic, your vents, your ocean currents. There's so much in the world that we don't utilize, and that's what takes us you are a type 1 civilization when you can utilize all of the energy that your planet produces. The next stage is a type 2 civilization that lets you harness all of the energy that your local star produces. And then a type 3 civilization, regardless of how ridiculous this is,
black holes,
is you are able to utilize all of the power that your galaxy produces. That's for using Hawking radiation off of black holes, and that's being able to create, what are called Dyson swarms. It's funny, Dyson spheres and Dyson swarms. The scientist Dyson literally said, "Please don't put my name on it. I don't want to be remembered for that." And yet now, he's totally being remembered for that. So, how we move into the next stage of all of this is going to be so dependent on how we utilize the resources we have, whether those are resources of people or resources of energy. You mentioned big data. Microsoft invested some odd billion X dollars just so that they could have their own solar panel farm, because the strain on local power grids for all of these data centers, for all of this AI, is so immense that how we manage that is problematic. And Microsoft and many other large companies were saying, hey, we need to be able to guarantee power to our data centers. We're going to go build a solar farm that's large.
Nuclear, too. They are looking for nuclear energy.
India's building a solar farm that is the size of 7 Parises. The size of 7 Paris, Frances. They have a solar farm that they're building. So how we adapt in all of those ways and the combination of them is really important going forward.
This conversation can go so many different ways, right? But one thing we are talking about is that we suffer a little bit of paralysis when you don't know in which energy you want to invest now. Because if you dedicate yourself right now, you commit to one type of energy, and then pretty soon something way more advanced comes, you won't have the resources to reinvest in there. So it causes some paralysis when you decide to make a $1 trillion investment. It's hard. It's difficult to choose.
Yeah, China's been investing in thorium salt reactor technology for a long time, until now cold fusion has been a thing, and we've got satellite imagery of, China building attempted cold fusion plants. They're not really cold fusion plants; they're more cold fusion experimental laser chemical reaction centers. But nonetheless, we know that China's up on this as well. And why wouldn't they be? They're in the same situation we are.
Yeah.
Right? How do I get more AI? How do I get more power? And one of the ways that China is effectively in that technology war, information war, is that's where they're putting out AI models for free. Here's an AI model for free. It's super free. Here it is. It's easy. You can use it. We swear we're not taking your data. We're totally taking your data.
Wow. Didn't know this guy inside of you.
and it just kind of comes at this price. Again, if it's free, you're the product in some way, shape, or form.
Of course.
Westworld.
I actually haven't watched that yet.
Oh, you got to watch it, man.
Have you watched the original movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah.
I played Fallout. I understand it's about the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Institute and the synths and all that.
Yeah. Same round. But it's worth it, the investment, especially the seasons that people did dislike it. Those are the ones that truly love it.
I just don't. You know what?
Yeah,
I think I need to
know.
have an AI bot of me
I
watch
know,
it and create a synopsis for me.
Yeah.
I know. It's gonna
That's
be
the thing,
Then
right?
you could just plug in and say, "Oh yeah, I've watched.
yeah, I watched
I've watched
it.
every
30
episode."
35 hours.
Yeah, AI, can you please, AI, please watch every episode of The Simpsons and drill everything down into it. Too long, didn't read 15-minute synopsis of the entire
TLDR.
show.
Yeah.
You see that? I know that because you see the movements that the machines do is similar to what we do. I know because I lack in a lot of American culture. I can't watch all the movies and all the TV series that there are, especially regarding American culture. So I have the Man of Recaps. He does that for me, right? The Man of Recaps is a summary of each season. There are plenty of those out there, but this guy is pretty good because he speaks in three times the speed. So he's the only guy that I don't watch it at 1.25, 1.5 because I can't follow what he says. But yeah, so hundreds of movies that I won't watch, but I need to know the basics. So a new concept that somehow is going to spark some idea in my mind. Okay, I'm going to watch this movie. So I watch it. I don't know. Probably right now I have watched more Man of the Caps than movies in the past 6 years. Movies and TV series in the past 6 years. It's not ideal, but it's what I can do with my time.
George, I love you, man. I think you need to be studied. You come up with the most random stuff. I've never even heard of this, and then you're like, yeah, I've watched more of this in 6 years in actual movies. I didn't even know this was a thing.
I mean, people make fun of that because you see that I'm shallow. I don't know this and that, but you gotta choose. It's a trade-off. What I feel that every single minute is a trade-off. If I dye my beard, I'm trading off for something else. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I understand it. It's just you come up with one other thing that surprises me. So it's I think you need to be studied, George.
On that note,
yeah, you see it. This is just I'm publicly saying that I want to be an alpha or beta, whatever. I don't care.
I think that's been some of the comments for the past couple of episodes is we need to study George. With that note, that'll be next week's episode where we dissect George. Anyway, no, thank you very much.
Table.
Thank you very much, Richard, for joining us and enlighten us with.
Don't call me somebody who's enlightening you. That's not the label I'm looking for.
Thank you for the provoking topics you brought that made me,
thought-provoking contributions.
Yeah. So probably,
I don't support any of the things I just said. Right? It just comes. That's kind of in all ways, shapes, and forms. How do we maintain what we're doing and going forward? Right? Just like people want to survive, organizations want to survive, and they're gonna do things that align with their core values to survive, right? And to think otherwise, whether it's a political party or a religious organization or an affiliate group, Whatever. I mean, even Waste Watchers just declared bankruptcy, right? That doesn't mean that the diet industry is dead, right? It's just that organization got cannibalized from the inside out, and people did bad management, and people came in and had
Ozempic.
some horrible what?
Ozempic.
Oh yeah,
Manjaro.
Ozempic. Man, that's another great technology where we're solving our own problems by coming up with neat chemical compositions to alter our human body, and eventually we're gonna find some probably 2 or 3 years from now you're gonna have I mean, you have Joe Rogan already talking about this. He takes this neuro drug, or he takes this, or he does this, or he does these things, right? Everybody's looking for that edge. Everybody's looking for being able to put another half hour of work on the table or another hour of work on the table, right? Alex Hermosi talks about that. He's like, oh, if your company is between $1 and $3 million, you're in the swamp. And how do you get out of the swamp? You're probably making $400,000 profit a year. Do you invest that into a person who's a high-end person who can take your business to the next level, or do you just work twice as hard? And he's like, the answer really is both. You got to do both. You got to work twice as hard, and you got to hire somebody.
I always say that, man. It's just work. Work smarter, not harder. I disagree with that. You get at this environment, you have to work smarter, harder, and smarter, or smarter and harder.
And more.
Different levels. Different levels.
I was literally talking to somebody who I admire very highly. Shout out to Dick Sanger. And we were talking about burnout, and we were talking about a lot of things. Like, if you were a caveman, burnout wasn't a thing. You couldn't be burned out hunting and gathering.
Survival.
You had to survive, right? I'm reading articles about the Indian caste system and how that's still a problem in Silicon Valley. And, a bunch of people are having American citizenship, or they're coming over here on visas, and they're having racism because of the Indian caste system between each other. But I'm reading stories about a guy who wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning just to walk 4 miles to get 5 gallons of water to bring it back to his family, because that's the only free water tap that's clean that he has access to. And then he goes from 8 o'clock to work to 8 o'clock, and he's got to puts in a 12-hour day.
Survival.
And then he goes home, and like that guy can't turn to his family and be like, man, I just feel really burned out. I'm not going to go get water for us today. I don't know. Not to say that burnout isn't real. That's not in any way, shape, or what I'm saying. Right? We all have different mental capacities and different resilience factors. But if you were, somebody who just people are relying on you to put food on the table, burnout's not an option. And it's just an interesting dynamic. People talk about work-life balance. We're here in Austin, Texas. We've got, as a matter of fact, Hilton and I were working with a guy in one of our networking groups, and I think he was Elon -2 was one of the comments. He worked at Tesla, and he talked about how Elon flew in, and he was trying to find a problem here at one of the Austin plants, and he flew in with a sleeping bag and a backpack, and he just camped out in the conference room. And he camped out in the conference room for 4 weeks until he found out who the problem was, and then fired him on the spot. He's like, I've determined who the problem is here. It's you. You're out. I've got a new guy coming in. He's going to fly in. He's going to replace it. And then Elon was gone. And then they didn't see him for 6 months because the problem that he was hunting, he found and he solved. Elon wasn't like, man, I'm going to go stay at the Hilton. I'm going to go have all my food catered. He was like buying, Thundercloud subs for the whole office just to get lunch for him. But then he was eating the same order of Thundercloud subs for 3 days, right? Because he cared more about the result of the work. So, the people get to where they are because of hard work and technology and how to apply that technology. And they understand their industry and a whole bunch of other things. It's a culmination of a bunch of factors that bring somebody to a really high level.
I just start to that one. I think people ask me because I'm from Brazil and I'm here and I have this company, and then people go like, "What is one thing that you can tell someone as a advice?" And I say, don't be afraid of working, because in the US, you work more than any other country in the world. You just do. You know, either with gathering information, knowledge, and whatnot, or putting the work, you know, to actually find and solve a problem. You cannot be afraid of working, and that's what he did. The other day also, I had this week actually, a customer called, and then talking to a customer, because I was referral from one of our referral partners, and talking to these customers, and this customer was asking me, notice my accent, and then they go like, and you know, you American? I was like, no, I'm from Brazil, and but how long have you been here? And it's like 9 years. So you are already an American? So like, no, I'm a green card holder. You know, it takes a long time and process to get the green card. But are you gonna be a American? So like, yes, I will. You know, I will apply for citizenship once I'm allowed to. But I have, you know, still wait, you know, to that stage. And then it's like, okay, good. You know, that customer only was comfortable to do business with me because I had the mentality of an American person. Do you know what I mean? It's the very first time that it ever happened. And I found that interesting. It's like, you know, and George was telling, hey, now, you know, the way, you know, the political divide is happening is you have a lot of people not wanting to do things because this and that. And it's like, hey, your English is pretty good. How you get that level of English? And then it's like, well, I also lived in UK for 7 years and such. So it was interesting. It was like a little bit of a prejudice against, you know, foreigners that are over here. And I found that interesting that it happened this week. The very first time that ever happened. You know, that person, you know, maybe thinking, oh, this guy is brown, or I don't know what the person thought. But I'm Brazilian, but I'm, you know, I'm very white. But
he's whiter than me, and I'm American. That's something.
And that's crazy. But yeah, it's, you know, if you come to America, you really have to put the work in, because, you know, over here people will work more than what you think that they will.
I'm certainly not a military intelligence expert, but I was doing IT cybersecurity support for multiple military intelligence cells in Iraq and Afghanistan. And one of the things that I kept getting information from COIN, you know, counterintelligence, insurgency, counter all sorts of counterterrorism groups. The thing that insulates us from so much of that is that literally people do come to America, and they come here initially to damage our infrastructure. They come here initially to want to wage war on us. And then they get here and they're like, wait a second. I can just open a business, and if I work hard, I can be successful. These opportunities didn't exist in the country I was in.
Yeah.
How can I do these things? As a matter of fact, there's a great Key and Peele skit of two guys running a shawarma truck, and the guy comes in, he's like, have you built the bombs? Have you destroyed the centers yet? And they're like, yeah, sure, we're working on that right now. And they're like trying to hide the wads of money that they're making on the shawarma truck. They're like we're making so much money. Everybody here loves our food. This is amazing. And that it's true in a lot of ways. The opportunities that still exist here in America are so beyond what opportunities exist elsewhere. When I talk to people about hacking, I did a presentation of the Texas State Board of Appeals. And in that presentation, the person before me was this all like sunshine and rainbows and everything's beautiful in the world. And look, we built a school in the Congo, and it cost us $3,000 a year to hire a certified teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like listening to this presentation, and I come up next, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, I'm going to harsh everybody's mellow. But did you hear what she just said? She said that they were able to hire a certified teacher That's not somebody just off the street. That's somebody who's trained, has some education, has some knowledge, knows what they're doing. And it costed $3,000 a year. That's less than $300 a month. And you as a business owner, or you as a slightly high net worth individual are thinking, oh, these people aren't after me. I don't have enough money. They're not interested in me. If somebody scores your bank account for $2,000, that's like almost a whole year's salary for a normal person in certain third world countries.
Yep.
So when they come over here and they're just like, what do you mean? What, I can just go do these things? I can just go make money. I can just go to a Home Depot and learn how to. There's nothing to prevent me to learn how to build. There's nothing to prevent. There's no licensing I need to go do this task. I can just go say I'm going to go
20 times that money.
Yeah, do all these things. Yeah, let's go. I'm going to go start a business, and then they work really hard, and then they can establish themselves. It's still kind of a Wild West in some ways in parts of America where you can just go work and make money.
Let's wrap it up.
Well, with that, Richard, as always, it's a pleasure having you. You'll definitely have to be back. I know you're one of the first few repeat podcasters on here. We've had others, but
I'm just here for the cigars and booze.
Yeah.
well, we have that here on the Puff Drink Talk podcast. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Have a great night. See you next week.
And comment, subscribe, and share with your friends.
Thank you.